Okay, I'm going to declare a quorum and call the City of Groton Mayor and Council meeting for Monday, February 4th, 2019 in order. Clerk Patrick, please call the roll.
Present are Mayor Keith Hendrick, Deputy Mayor Lawrence Garish, Councilors Jill Rusk, Stephen Sheffield, Landry Depot, Rashad Carter, Finance Director Ron Newhouse, Clerk Deborah Patrick. Excused is Councilor Jamal Beckford.
Okay, all please stand and salute the flag. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Recognitions, awards, memorials. Council, do we have any? Councilor Rusk?
I just wanted to wish our Deputy Mayor a happy birthday.
Absolutely. Happy birthday. Anything else? Okay. Next is receipt of citizens petitions. Receipt of citizen petition is a portion of the council meeting where the council welcomes comments from citizens. To address the council, please sign the sheet on the table at the front of the meeting room. When you are recognized, please approach the podium. Clearly state your name and address and speak into the microphone. Each presentation should be limited to 5 minutes or less, and citizens should, if possible, submit email or written comments. Presentations should be related to matters pertinent to the City of Groton. City councilors will only ask questions in order to clarify the speaker's presentation and can respond during the response to citizens' petitions portion of the meeting. Clerk Patrick, do we have anyone signed?
We do. Mark Whalen.
Good evening. Mark Whalen, 20 Hillside Avenue, the City of Groton. I'm here before you this evening as the Director of Art on Groton Bank. And I'd like to share with you a little bit. We have a proposal in front of you for support for this year. And I'd like to just share with you a little bit about what Art on Groton Bank is all about and why we need your support. Art on Groton Bank is a non-profit, all-volunteer organization. And we produce Art on Groton Bank, which is an art show I like to call festival, on the grounds of the Bill Memorial Library. This year it'll be held on Saturday, June 8th, 10 to 4. And we pretty much take over the entire grounds. We're a community event. We have artists, artisans, potters, pottery. We have photography. We have all kinds of vendors that come in to display and sell their goods. We have live music. We have food, we have face painters, we have lots of interactive activities that come to that day. It's in its, I think, 11th year now. It's my 4th year for producing this event. And quite frankly, we couldn't do it without your support. And I ask for your continued support tonight to help us produce this great event. It's great for the community. We bring in many hundreds of visitors that come to Art on Groton Bank, Groton Bank itself, the water taxi. We have a shuttle service that goes from the water taxi up to Art Groton Bank, which we also provide. And it's just a very happy, festive day. And we would like to continue doing it and ask again for your support, because that's the only way we can do this, because we are a nonprofit, and as you know, that's not always easy. And in a nutshell, that's what we are.
Can I ask a question just for clarification? How much does it typically cost you to run Art on Groton Bank?
We ask the city for $1,000. And Groton Utilities usually gives us $1,500.
Okay.
And we have about a handful of donors, neighbors, give anything from $25 to $100. We make money, but not very much. I think we have in our bank account right now about $300 from last year's event. And the goal is we have to keep a minimum according to our bylaws, and if anything that goes above that, we give to the Bill Memorial Library.
Thank you.
Any other points of clarification to council? Okay,
I
thank you.
actually have one if it's okay.
Okay, Clerk
The
Patrick?
shuttle. Is the shuttle just running from the water taxi up to the library or all around Groton
All
Bank?
around, on demand, the shuttle will stop at the Mother Bailey House, at the Avery Cop House. It'll take people really wherever they want to go, any of the churches en route. That's on demand,
Okay.
but it runs in a continuous circle all throughout the day.
Yeah, similar to what we did last year, I talked to Mark Berry, who is the town Parks and Rec director. I talked to him at Saturday night at the Super Bowl, and we're going to do something similar to what we did last year. So,
Any further?
okay, that's it. Thank you,
very
Mark.
much.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay, Clerk Patrick?
Next is Tom Altice.
Okay, Tom?
Oh, I hope so.
Hello, I'm Tom Altice. I think, as most of you know, I live at 5 Meridian Street and have been there for 50 years. That's at the corner of Monument Street. And I'm also president of the Groton Bank Historical Association. And I was pleased that, in contrast to when I was here in 1970 speaking to the council, the only person who knew what Groton Bank meant was Clarence Sharp, because the term had gone out of existence and so forth. I wish I were president of Groton Bank, a financial institution, but Groton Bank is a village. And anyway, so an important part of that village is the Mother Bailey House, which I'd like to make some other comments about tonight. I urge the City Council to reassess its rationale to declare the Mother Bailey House surplus property and to sell it. Even U.S. presidents have to reassess some of their decisions. It has been incomplete and misleading to say that taxpayers voted overwhelmingly not to spend any more on the house. At the February 2016 meeting, a $800,000 proposal was indeed overwhelmingly voted down. But remember, half of that amount was for improvements to this building, $400,000. Nearly a third, $250,000, was for improvements on the Costa property. The Mother Bailey House was a minor part of it, of less than 20% of the total that was being voted on. Furthermore, a number of citizens spoke at that meeting, and the minutes of the meeting show that don't record any comments opposing the Mother Bailey House. So I guess I have to ask you, when people talk about improvements to this building, are you now saying that idea was voted down overwhelmingly? We won't make any more improvements to the municipal building either. That's the rationale that's being used on the Mother Bailey House. So I support a reasonable amount of money of my taxes to go to stabilize and restore the Mother Bailey House, as do a number of other citizens. City taxpayers should realize that through their Connecticut state taxes, they are paying for other cities and towns to restore old houses, most of which are much less historic and in worse condition than the Mother Bailey House is. These communities are getting part of their citizens' Connecticut tax money back by applying for grants from the State Historic Preservation Office. So I urge you to do the same. If the Mother Bailey House were sold, of course, monies would have to be spent in just getting it ready to sell. Rather than doing that, why not first pool those funds toward a grant application? The Mother Bailey House, because of its age, historical significance, and architecture, will likely qualify for grant funds, and you would know within a matter of a few months as to whether that grant would be honored. So if it didn't get approved, you haven't lost any dollars, and you've only lost 2 or 3 months' time. So I urge you to take that route before you consider selling it. Let's take pride in the house as a cultural asset and put it to our advantage. That could also open the door to grants for other properties on Thames Street. Thames Street is, after all, when you look at it, it's a historical diamond or necklace in the rough. The Mother Bailey House is one of the big diamonds in that necklace, but there are many others. There are homes of defenders of Fort Griswold. There's a home of the Connecticut's major in the War of 1812, and a congressman too. So the street spells out really our nation's defense history, our history from local citizens defending themselves in the Revolutionary War to heroes and militia defending us in the War of 1812, and now EB currently defending our country. Other towns can't match that kind of attraction. Why not capitalize on more than 2 centuries of leadership in defense as a means of interesting people into Thames Street? And we already have interest from the Thames River Heritage Park, which I understand the city supports, but why should that be supported if you're going to tear down or not maintain the historic treasures that are there, like the Mother Bailey House?
Excuse me, Ms. Alta, we're at time now, 5 minutes.
We are, okay. One more phrase. And of course, the occupants of the Mother Bailey House and owners played an important role in both our Revolutionary War and the War of 1812. And with that, I thank you, and I wish the mayor a happy birthday.
Well, actually, it's the deputy mayor.
And if I can ad-lib for one more phrase, I have a friend who got a neat birthday card. He says, birthdays are good for your health. The more you have, the longer you live.
Thank you. Very good. Thank you, Tom.
Brian Neiman,
Brian?
I can do this.
could you email it to me,
I
please?
will also email it to you.
Thank you.
Brian Neiman, 76 Allen Street, on a slightly different tack. There's been a lot of talk over months about economic development and beautification in the city, in the town. As a 20-year member of the Highway Department, I cringe whenever I hear the term beautification. There's been a long history of items that look good on paper, look great on execution, but there seems to be something lacking in the concept of upkeep and maintenance. And if anybody has even a small yard, you realize things don't maintain themselves. And as I say, working for the Highway Department, I know there is not an overabundance of personnel. And just as one example I think of is the beautification of Smith's Bridge Street, which was with state or federal grant money, and you have the planters all along the street that one were overplanted, and I really don't think anybody had a concept as far as how or by whom they were going to be maintained. A number of times volunteers have been brought in to maintain them because we certainly don't have the city personnel to do it. And when you have a year like we've had with excessive rainfall, all that work went for naught within a couple of weeks because of all the weeds that just reinfested. Another item that the city seems to be fond of is planting trees. And I've seen a number of trees planted where they are underneath existing large trees, so they don't receive any sunlight. Within a couple of years, they're being posted because they've died. Or they've been planted in areas where invasive vines are very nearby. So I would ask, with any kind of beautification plan, no matter how good it looks on paper, and I'm not against beautification, that long-term consideration be given as far as how and by whom it's going to be maintained. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Brian.
Jane Poquet.
Jane?
I'm back here. Still see you.
As I think, my name is Jane Bouquet. I live at 380 Thames, and I have addressed the council before on the issue of Mother Bailey. And as you know, many of you know, we have started a petition drive so that in that the Mother Bailey house has been declared surplus property, that in RFP does not result in demolition of the house at 108 Thames Street, and that any request for proposals that might issue ensure that the historic character of the exterior of the house is maintained. And as I was a teacher, I know that one should never assume. I was reminded of that by my students. And some of you may have known that the way they remind you about the word assume. But anyway, so I'm not assuming that all the members of the council have been inside the building or down to the building. Many of you have full-time jobs or part-time jobs and don't have much time. So I brought the trifold of the house that shows the exterior, the interior. There's even a postcard from years gone by of what it looked like. It was the turn of the century. I also brought brochures that go over the history of the Annerbanger and why we would like to have the house preserved. Again, as a teacher too, I think that people should make informed decisions. They should know what they're making a decision about and the implications of it. Further, with the petition, we have already received 210 signatures. We have an online petition at motherbailey.org/petition, and it was 138 online, and the rest of them were hard copy events that took place in the town and by going door to door. It shows that a lot of people do care a lot about historic preservation and keeping our Groton Bank intact. I'm a volunteer at the Mystic Seaport, and I love the Seaport. But the Seaport, as many of you may or may not know, most of the houses there were brought in or moved there. The Groton Bank has old houses, and they are authentic. They are in the location, with one exception, where they originally were. It's a picture in time that has been modified. A couple of other minor points. As you know too, I've spoken about the grants that are available. I did follow up after the last meeting that I spoke, and I asked them at the State Historic Preservation Office how much money they had in their budget for historic preservation funds this year. And I was told that from July 1st, 2018 to July 1st, 2019, they have $1 million in their budget for historic restoration. And that they haven't turned anybody away. And they have been very encouraging and supportive. And I believe there's a public-private partnership between them and Connecticut Trust for Historic Preservation. And I believe they've been in contact with city planner and other people about seeing what they can do to work with the city. Oh, and one final thing, I did dig up the purchase. I happened to come across the purchase and sale agreement for 108, and in it says that the seller has to make sure, it says, shall provide to the buyer upon their execution of the agreement disclosure of lead-based paint and residential property condition disclosure reports. So at that time of the sale, which I believe was 2010, there should have been a lead-based paint and residential property condition disclosure done, which addressed one of the issues that was coming up about the RFP, was looking into possible lead-based contamination and remediation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, Jane.
I'll do that over here maybe, and we can look at it afterwards.
Sure. Patrick, is there anyone else?
That's it, no.
Okay. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to speak tonight? Okay, hearing none. Go to response to citizens' petitions and comments. Councilor Rusk.
Brian, I just wanted to let you know that Councilor Beckford and I both met with Sierra Patrick, who is the EDC coordinator, regarding beautification. And one of the things that we definitely talked about was using low-maintenance plants if we were going to put them in public areas, because we understand that the highway department already has enough going on. I know when they did the planters down on Thames Street, they talked about having business owners water them, or having them, I think they ended up being pots that don't have to be watered as often. So that is definitely being considered. So thank you for bringing that up, but it's definitely on the radar. So we know you're already overworked, so.
In that same vein, there was a garden club that was here around Christmas. And I approached them, and I took the card of the president and gave that to Sierra as well, to engage one of the local garden clubs in our endeavors for beautification here in the city. Did you? Oh, I thought I saw him.
Well, not for that issue, I guess.
Oh, no. Is there, okay, go ahead.
Me personally, and for years, even before the council, before I was elected to the council, I've always looked at the Thames Street going into Eastern Point Road as an industrial type place, and I feel like we need to, if not, open up some type of dialogue with Electric Boat to see what they can do, because I think it's an eyesore. The fencing down there, it looks very industrial. Like, I know that once you go towards Pfizer, it's like night and day between what Pfizer brings, to the, from the road view to Electric Boat, fencing's falling down, it's very overgrown, and, they have the money to do it. I think we need to open up some type of dialogue with them to get that done.
I agree. There's some other things that I've asked Sierra to take a look at. Murals, the possibility for murals, if we have that. I think we had looked at that once before. I don't remember what the hurdles were, but I've asked her to take a look at that again. That is one way. There's some other things that we could do with major property owners such as EB with their fencing to, I'll use the term spruce it up, but to make it less industrial looking, so that they're a little more eye appeal. So you're right, there are some things, and we are reaching out to people. Anything else on this? Okay, any other issues? Councilor Sheffield.
Yes, I guess in response to the Mother Bailey, thank you again, both Tom and Jane, for coming. I just wish the, I guess the sense of urgency regarding the Mother Bailey would have came a few years earlier when, you know, the proposal was presented for, like I said, for the bond funding. And I asked, you know, folks from the Mother Bailey for their share as far as raising money to support us as far as, you know, having a combined effort to restore the Mother Bailey. And we've held out for quite some time, and, you know, the other side just didn't, you know, bring enough to the table at the present time. And like I said, fortunately, bring up was the, I guess, around 150,000, which was the bond money, which was rejected. I'm not sure what else, you know, as far as the city can do from there, from our end, unless we re-proposed it and then have money come from the other side as a joint venture, which was discussed previously. But it seems like our hands are kind of tied until we see from your end that that something can be brought to, you know, help save the Mother Bailey. I would love to see it done, but you know, we've been waiting a few years now.
If I can make a comment.
It's not a dialogue.
Because this is our response, and I don't want to get into a dialogue because we have done this in the past and it goes forever. Anything else on that?
As I said, you know, it's good to hear about now, but I wish it came a few years earlier to where, you know, I see the sense of urgency with the flood of letters and I'm sure calls coming in, but it would have been nice to see that some time ago to where we could have made some.
If I can say just one sentence, that is, I've been a resident here for 50 years. I'm a former councilor in the town myself for a number of terms, and I follow the newspaper very closely. I haven't missed an issue of the day for 50 years. I did not see any, maybe it was in the fine legal print, but I didn't see any real publicity, or I certainly would have been here.
Okay. All right. Any other counselor that would like to speak on the citizen petition comments? Counselor Depot.
I just wanted to touch on one thing that Jane brought up, the surveying for lead paint and hazardous materials. The old survey was done so long ago that I know our prospect of getting someone to invest in the house will be raised astronomically by them not having to do that after the fact. For one, lead paint and asbestos can be intact for a while, and then due to deterioration, it needs to be retested. There's kind of no way around that. I do think I brought up in the last meeting the quote that we had was incredibly high, and so I did address that last time because I think we can do it pretty cheaply, but it in my experience, I don't think there's any way we can get around doing that.
Okay, to address that issue specifically, you'll notice that in tonight's packet, that resolution is not in tonight's agenda. The reason being is we are going off with 4 or 5 different quotes. We do not have the quotes back yet, so therefore I am not ready to come back to council, but I do anticipate coming back to council fairly soon. Councilor Rusk.
Regarding Mother Bailey, I did actually tour Mother Bailey on Saturday. My big concern is that the longer the city has been holding on to Mother Bailey, the worse it's getting. I don't want to see Mother Bailey being torn down. I don't think anybody around this table wants to see it torn down. But I don't want it to continue to deteriorate. And I don't believe that the city has the funding right now to maintain it, to improve it and then maintain it. I would love to see somebody come with an RFP that, 1, wants to keep the house intact, and 2, wants to restore it to its beauty. I don't think that we as a city are the entity to do that. I'm concerned about the condition that it's in. And after walking through it, I'm probably more concerned. That being said, I'm not willing to vote yes to a proposal that is, not in the best interest of the city and the Mother Bailey House. So we're going to have to wait and see what we get for proposals. If we don't get anything good, then we, go in the next direction. But that's, I think, where this council has stood for a while now.
Councilor Sheffield.
In response to Councilor Depot, as far as asbestos, testing and all that, at the end of the day, we're going to need to pay to have it removed, which is going to be extensive as far as the sale.
No, not necessarily. I'm interested in spending money to identify the extent and the contaminants that are there. I have never.
Well, I understand that.
And I have not brought it to the council about remediation.
But if we were to sell the property, we would have to, unless there's some stipulation that someone's going to clean it up.
You sell it as is.
Well, yeah, but what if that's not going to happen?
You could sell it as is. You could sell it as is with deed restrictions.
Oh, yeah, but all right, so what if we don't sell and they were requesting or requiring us to remove it? That was the other thing I was thinking.
We will cross that bridge when we get there. First, we need to identify the hazards.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Can I make a clarification for that? Because that did come up for another property, and we can, when we put out the RFP, we can specify whether or not that cost should be borne by whoever is purchasing it, or like what happened in the other one that I was involved in. The proposals, one had it included in their proposal that they would pay for it, and one expected the town to pay for it. And so it just has bearing on which proposal ends up better for
the buyer.
Well, no, for the seller. We choose who buys it.
Right.
So when the proposals come in, if a proposal says that, in order to purchase this, we need the city to remediate, we can say no.
Okay, so that means we won't sell the property.
It's not required.
Right, but that's what I'm saying, is that gamble you take.
It's possible, you're saying. You said if we could get a buyer that wants to restore the Mother Bailey house and wants to do right by the Mother Bailey house, they may bring in something and say they need to clean.
They may, but that's a bridge we cross when we get to it.
Okay, let me say one last thing. There's some new information for the council and for the public at large, and that is we have been in touch with the State Historic Preservation Office, and they are coming to tour the building on Wednesday, and then they will give us an objective look, and then based on that objective look, that will help us to guide where we're going to draft the RFP. They will help us draft the RFP to get us in a direction to help this property. No decision has been made on this house. None. We had to make it surplus property so we could get to the next step. This is the next step. But there has been no predetermination of the outcome of this house. The council has said, and I will state again, that we would like to keep the house whole. But that doesn't mean at any cost. We have got to go to the next step. That's what this next step is. If you decided that you wanted to do, you could do, instead of a petition to save the house, there is a method in the charter where you could get a referendum to spend the money on the Mother Bailey, right? They could do that? Okay? It takes X amount of signatures to do that. But if that would show that the citizens had the wherewithal that they wanted to spend the money on the Mother Bailey House.
And a referendum will cost the city about $12,000
Yes,
to
ma'am, I
process.
understand.
I just want to make sure that
Right,
that is
there-
also out there.
Right, there is a cost to doing the referendum,
Something that's not in my budget, by the way.
okay?
Clerk Patrick, as far as, is that the Freemans, as far, okay,
No,
so,
that would be like an election.
Could you do it with the other?
but I'm saying, if we were to resubmit the bond money that we have and then bring it to the Freeman, what is the charge on that? There's no
No, I-
charge, okay.
But that's a whole different process.
Right, exactly.
And the problem is you can't reissue, once you have a resolution that's been voted down, you just can't recycle that resolution.
Well, that was part of the bundled package. Now, that would be, we would separate the one packet out. Would that be a separate motion to bring before the Freeman compared to the last one we had?
Sure, if that's the
So,
decision.
yeah, because that
Then we
would be the
decide to
only
go down.
thing separate, because we had the bundled pack 3 years ago.
Yeah,
This would be a separate piece to bring before the Freeman with a specific dollar amount. And then obviously, if that's no charge, that would probably be better. And obviously, since there's been signatures already brought upon, to approve funding for the Mother Bailey, then it'll be up to the Freeman.
The
And that's what we
signatures-
would like.
the
Well, not just-
signatures currently are so that the house is not demolished, okay?
Right.
So
So
we are
those people that are
going
now
down-
coming to us
we are
now
going-
that weren't here a few years ago, because a lot of people didn't know, now the information seems to be out that, about the Mother Bailey. If you really want something to come forward, then
Right.
talk to us.
Anything else on the response to citizens petitions? Okay, that's it. Approval of the minutes. Need a motion to approve January 22nd, 2019 mayor and council meeting minutes.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Need a motion for the January 28th, 2019 committee of the whole meeting minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Communication and reports. Councilor Ross.
On Tuesday, January 29th, I attended the Southeastern Connecticut Council of Governments Regional Plan for Housing and Transportation associated with the expansion of the submarine shipbuilding and in Southeastern Connecticut. I highly recommend looking online for the presentation. There's a lot of good information, but they are looking at the housing market and what might need to expand and how we need to expand it for all of the new people working at EB, as well as the new people that are expected to be at the sub-base, the expanded numbers. They're looking at transportation concerns. They're looking at how can we use mass transit to help with parking and to relieve some transportation issues. So that's all in there, and they're planning another meeting coming up. If I find out when it is, I will try to let everybody know.
I think
It was
it's
like
May.
but I don't think there was a definite date, was there?
Yeah, I don't remember. I'll get that information. I'm on the JLS Implementation Committee,
Okay.
so I will get a heads up on that, get that out to people.
There's a lot of information, a lot of questions that were answered. On Saturday, February 2nd, I attended the presentation on vacant buildings. The mayor was part of that presentation. Town manager John Burt was there, as well as the town's economic development, and I'm missing somebody.
John Ryder, Page Brown.
Yes, thank you. Just to highlight what they talked, well, they were talking about what properties were owned by the town and how they were trying to make them back, not just back on the grand list, but how they could redevelop properties and make them good for the surrounding areas. So to highlight the big one here, it's Groton Heights. It's been vacant since 2007. They did an RFP. They released it in June of 2018. I know Councilor Depot was part of that RFP process. They looked at the historic significance in the neighborhood. They believe they found somebody, a preferred developer, that's willing to maintain the building, at least the main part of the building. They have not yet released that information, but it should be released soon. And with that, they got a brownfield grant to address your concern, Councilor Sheffield, with the Mother Bailey House. They got a brownfield grant that helps with cleanup of lead and asbestos and PCBs. So that's something that we definitely could look at if we need some help with the Mother Bailey House. They also are looking at Colonel Ledyard. It's not the highest on their priority list, but Groton Heights is definitely one, should be announced soon. Some of the other properties they looked at were like the Mystic Education Center. They're looking at that, and the Sealy School. So just exciting things that are happening in the city and in the town. And other than that, I toured the Mother Bailey House on February 2nd also.
Okay. Councilor Sheffield?
And I also attended the presentation for the games at the Bill Memorial Library.
Sorry, yes, sir.
That's okay. Clerk Patrick also attended as well, and Mayor. And that's all.
Okay. Councilor Depot?
Nothing to report.
Councilor Carter?
Nothing to report.
Deputy Mayor Gary? Finance Director, you also?
No report.
Clerk Deb Patrick?
I have nothing. Thank you.
Okay. It is that time of year for budgets, so I will need 3 councilors to present the highway budget to the town council, the 3-on-3. So I'll take volunteers. Councilor Russ? You say you go?
Yes.
Councilor Parrish.
Hey, do I have a third?
When will that fall off?
Well, I don't know. We got to give them the 3 names, and then they'll contact us to set up a meeting.
Okay, I'll jump in.
Okay, thank you all. I will submit these names, and I will keep you posted. That's all I have. Committee referrals. Are there any committee referrals? Okay, stepping into new business, Councilor Rossi.
Thank you. Resolution R-19-2-8. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council approve the fiscal year 2020 highway department budget. I so move.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Deputy Mayor Garrish.
Resolution R-19-2-9. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council approve the fiscal 2020 police department budget. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Councilor Sheffield.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution R-19-2-10. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council finally approve to repeal Ordinance 112, an ordinance regulating the use of public and private sewers and drains, private wastewater disposal, the installation and connection of building sewers, and the discharge of waters and waste into the public sewer system, and providing penalties for violations thereof in the city of Groton, county of New London, state of Connecticut. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Councilor Depot.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution R-19-2-11, therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council initially approve an amendment to ordinance number 198, an ordinance for the control of pets in city-owned recreational areas. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Councilor Carter.
R-19-2-12, therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council grant a 1-year extension of license and waive the security deposit to Groton Public Schools Food Service Department, 1300 Flanders Road, P.O. Box K, Groton, Connecticut, to operate refreshment facility at Eastern Point Beach for the 2019 season. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Councilor Rusk.
Resolution R-19-2-13. Therefore, be it Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council rescind Resolution R-18-11-107 and provincially authorize and approve the City of Groton to enter into a contract with Kenneth Warner and Sons Incorporated, 65-3 North Branford Road, Branford, Connecticut, and the construction of a storage building to be located behind the Park and Recreation House for a contract cost of $122,638.00 and an added contingency for a total expenditure not to exceed $134,901.80, and if required, an additional $4,200.00 for cold weather foundation work to be paid from capital reserve funds. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. Deputy Mayor Garish.
Resolution R-19-2-14. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council authorize and approve the expenditure of $10,000 to the Thames River Heritage Park Foundation for the purposes of supporting the program year 2019 operating expenses of the Thames River Heritage Park water taxi. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. Councilor Sheffield.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution R-19-2-15. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council authorize and approve a donation of $1,000.00 to Art on Groton Bank, 20 Hillside Avenue, Groton, Connecticut. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. Councilor Depot.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution R-19-2-16, therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council authorize and approve a donation of $500.00 to Steps Incorporated, P.O. Box 1907, Groton, Connecticut. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Councilor Carter.
R-19-2-17. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council authorize and approve a donation of $1,000.00 to Children First Groton, Child and Family Agency, 255 Hempstead Street, New London, Connecticut. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Councilor Rusk.
Resolution R-19-2-18. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council authorize and approve a donation of $500.00 to Groton Scholarship Fund, care of Fitch Senior High School, 101 Groton Long Point Road, Groton, Connecticut, to be designated for City of Groton residents. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions. Deputy Mayor Garish.
Resolution R-19-2-19. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council authorize and approve a donation of $250 to the Thames Valley Council for Community Action, TVCCA, 1 Sylvandale Road, Jewett City, Connecticut. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing,
Just for clarification, this is for Meals on Wheels, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. Councilor Sheffield.
Thank you, Mayor. R-19-2-20. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council authorize Groton Utilities Management to enter into an agreement, proposal dated January 10th, 2019, with Conwood Foresters Incorporated, 39 Cherry Hill Road, P.O. Box 150, Rockfall, Connecticut, to develop the Groton Utilities Forest Stewardship Plan for 2019 to 2029 in an amount not to exceed $16,000.00 to be paid from the approved fiscal year 2019 Board of Division operating and capital budget. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. Councilor Depot.
Resolution R-19-2-21, therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council authorize Groton Utilities Management to approve the 3-year standard rental service agreement with Cintas P.O. Box 630921, Cincinnati, Ohio, for a total contract cost not to exceed $90,000 and no cents, and an expenditure not to exceed the year 1 amount of $29,918.77, to be paid from Operations Safety, Safety Clothing and Gear in the approved fiscal year 2019 Water Division operating and capital budget. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. Councilor Carter.
R-19-2-22. Sorry. Therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council authorize Groton Utilities Management to waive the bidding requirement of policy 1004, policy and procedures governing the purchasing practices of Groton Utilities, and authorize Groton Utilities to manage and purchase a primary network switch chassis and related components from JKS Systems LLC, 1265 John Fitch Boulevard, South Windsor, Connecticut, for an amount not to exceed $110,969.77, to be paid for the funds available in the 2018-2019 IT Department approved non-bonded capital project. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Councilor Rusk.
Resolution R-19-2-23. Therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council authorize a contract with BL Companies, 355 Research Parkway, Meriden, Connecticut, for third-party technical review of documents pertaining to electric boat South Yard Assembly Building applicants to be filed with the Planning and Zoning Commission for an estimated cost of $190,500.00, plus additional fees that may be incurred and to be paid for by the applicant electric boat. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Deputy Mayor Garrett.
Resolution R-19-2-24, therefore be resolved that the mayor and council approve the establishment of a tax payment deferment program for certain individuals affected by the federal shutdown. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Councilor Sheffield.
R-19-2-25. Therefore, 25.
Sorry.
Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council authorize Groton Utilities Management to purchase 2 HVAC systems at Trails Corner, 35 kV switchgear for replacement of 2 existing systems that have failed following attempted repair, amount not to exceed $14,841 and no cents, to Dunkley Cooling and Heating Incorporated, 296 Tonkwonk Road, Stonington, Connecticut, to be paid from funds available in the approved fiscal year 2019 non-bonded electric substation replacement equipment fund as a non-budgeted purchase. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Councilor Depot.
Resolution R-19-2-26. Therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council accept and approve the award from the State of Connecticut Office of Policy and Management as part of the Justice Assistance Grant Program, Violence Crime Prevention Grant, in the amount of $38,000 and no cents, and that Mayor Keith Hedrick be authorized to execute said agreement. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. There is no executive session. I will take a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.